Today, we're diving into a weird little pocket of early 2000s racing games, the wonderful world of Davilex. If you ever walked into a Woolworths or Game Station about 20 years ago, chances are you've seen these covers. Bold, square-shaped sans serif font coupled with pictures of unlicensed cars engaged in madness, sheer illegal activity that your parents warned you about. But instead of that, what you get are just average racers that arrived on the market about 10 years too late. This is the mediocre story of Davilex on the PS2. Well then, giddy up. A few disclaimers to get out the way. I will be comparing these games to the standards of 2025, whilst acknowledging these games are almost as old as your firstborn child, and I'll be going in chronological order, followed up by a ranking of all games at the end of the video. Well, starting off in 2002, we have London Racer 2, kicking off Davilex's oddball PS2 presence with what might be their most well-known title. It's a sequel of sorts to London Racer on the PS1, considered to be one of the worst racing games on that console. An interesting side note is that London Racer 2 also had a PS1 port, most likely due to the fact that licensing fees on the PS1 by that point had dropped down to a can of Coke and a bag of chips. So what was one more quick shit out the door for that aging hardware? Needless to say, London Racer 2 on the PS2 is a massive step up in quality across the board. Gone are the unforgiving collision detection and relentless police AI of the PS1 predecessor, which unwisely went down the racing sim route. London Racer 2 goes practically the complete opposite direction and delivers a solid arcade racing experience that is let down by AI that's too easy this time, and also an overall generic presentation. It feels more like a strange parody of Britain filtered through a Dutch developer's imagination rather than anything portraying the cities of London, Manchester and Glasgow. Expect red phone boxes in the streets of 2002 London and road signs that sometimes switch into Dutch mid-race. Although the in-game radio is a nice touch, despite being completely inane due to being played straight instead of satirical. I think. The gameplay itself is about as basic as it gets. Floaty, lifeless handling, rubbery AI, and a laughable sense of speed. Cars bounce off scenery like they're made of foam, and the damage system consists of a single glass shattering sound effect played every time you so much as tap a curb. Races quickly descend into predictable dodging of identikit traffic and watching the same untextured buildings whiz past on a loop. Yet somehow, there's a kind of charm in just how bluntly unpolished it is. It doesn't so much aim to be good as it does simply exist. And that, my friends, is what I call a mood. There is no reason to not play this game as much there is no reason to play this game. And released near simultaneously with London Racer 2, USA Racer, a blatant asset flip, has Davilex taken the formula across the Atlantic in what feels like a Eurojank fever dream version of America. Route 66 is presented as a dusty straight line with the occasional cactus. Las Vegas is a jumble of neon blocks dropped into a ghost town, and New York traffic seems to consist entirely of beige sedans and wandering lorries. Nonetheless, they seem to have a charm about them. The track at Yellowstone being my favourite. Gameplay is fundamentally identical to London Racer 2, with identical car handling, AI that forgets to steer, and recycled audio effects. The main American additions are purely aesthetic. The menus feature stars and stripes, the crude British stereotypes have been replaced for crude American stereotypes, and the cars are decorated with flames and flag decals in a way that I would say borders on parody if it weren't for the fact that flame decals make a car go faster. The British radio is also replaced by an even more forgettable American variant. It's technically a new game, but god, there is so little here that's actually new. Even the UI is near identical, save for a few swap fonts. If nothing else, USA Racer is worth a look for its sheer commitment to the idea of America itself as a selling point, without any of the cultural nuance, design polish, or gameplay progression to back it up.
Kick, K-U-Z. Select a car.
With 2003's World Challenge, Davilex made what is in my opinion their best game. This entry plays exactly like the previous racing games, but has sharper visuals and brings over the majority of cars and tracks that featured in the previous games, including their EU counterpart, Autobahn Racer 4, which I didn't, or was it 6? Fuck it. I didn't play it because I couldn't be bothered. I mean, sure, it's just painting over the London Racer chassis, but the compilation of nearly every track from three of Davilex's most accessible games clearly makes this one the king of Dutch Mountain. Sure, there are no significant changes to the gameplay, but the amount of content in this game and variety of tracks and cars almost make World Challenge look like an above average racing game. It's an unchallenging arcade racer, and if you were going to play at least one Davilex game in your life, I'd recommend it be this one. Alarm for Cobra 11 stands out here for one simple reason. It's based on an actual TV license. The German action series Alarm for Cobra 11 is known for its explosive stunts and chaotic motorway chases. And surprisingly, this game does a halfway decent job of capturing that feel, at least within Davilex's limitations. Missions have a bit more direction as there is a narrative in place, and the tracks, largely based on autobahns and German cities, are all fitting for the story. That said, the game is still riddled with the usual Davilex flaws, floaty handling, bland traffic AI, and a physics engine that randomly forgets what gravity is. Still, it's the closest Davilex came to making a game that felt somewhat original, a competent mess rather than a total one.
What have you done to my car?
Here we are with a game that's not an asset flip, I think, with London Racer Police Madness, a half-hearted attempt to turn London Racer into a cop-based pursuit game, and the results are pretty quirky. You, the player, play a law enforcer chasing down criminals, but the suspects seem to be completely unaware that they are driving upon the loop of death in their respective country, for which there is no escape, only an oval-shaped racing track that is LARPing as an open-world sandbox. Missions have little variety, ranging from fetch quests to Chase HQ rip-offs. Usually, it seems a lot of new assets were made for this game, which is a surprise. While there is some fun to be had, the gameplay loop becomes tedious within minutes. It's simply London Racer 2 with blue menus and a vague sense of authority. Like most of Davilex's catalogue, it's a game that says new on the box but screams recycle in the code. Not content with racing or law enforcement, Davilex next tried their hand at vehicular combat with Destruction Madness, one of the most bizarre examples of asset flipping the PS2 has to offer. The pitch is unoriginal. Smash things up and pretend you're playing Twisted Metal instead. Sadly, it's executed with the same sleepwalking level of ambition as its predecessors. The game's destruction elements amount to slamming into targets on recycled city maps, while cars explode with a hilarious lack of damage modelling. They just simply fall apart. The car models remain unchanged from their equally asset flippy origins, though a few heavier vehicles are thrown in to imply variety, even though they all control identically. Collision physics are rudimentary at best. Ramming into another vehicle causes your car to bounce like it's made of rubber, which makes the combat element of this vehicular combat game very underwhelming. Tracks are the same old layouts from previous London Racer games, just decorated with some cones and conveniently destructible objects. Despite its title, there's very little madness or actual destruction to be found here. What you're left with, essentially, is a circuit racing game retooled to poorly mimic a vehicular combat game. Destruction Madness is probably one of the most misguided examples of asset flipping in the pre-digital era. So, after all that, how do I rank them? Well, coming in last is Destruction Madness, a prime example of reheating your food too many times, causing you a stomachache. Just above it is Police Madness, due to the fact it actually bothered to make new assets. Fourth is Alarm for Cobra 11, for all you out there who think games are at their best when they're telling stories. Third is USA Racer, simply because America is an empire in rapid decline right now. Second is London Racer 2, basically the same game as USA Racer, but it's British. And number one is World Challenge, because it's just the previous two games compiled into one, and it promotes the most geopolitical harmony out of all of them. So, what's the verdict on Davilex's PS2 catalogue? Part 1. Objectively, these games are a mess, but subjectively, they're quite amusing. If you go in expecting Gran Turismo, you'll cry. But if you go in expecting chaos, broken AI, and cities that look like they were made in Net Uralzi, you're going to have a fantastic time. Davilex didn't just make games, they made mutant artifacts. Play them for what they are, trash treasures from a bygone era. Thanks for watching. If you like this, give it a like, and subscribe for more Lost PS2 chaos. And let me know in the comments which Davilex game became your Gran Turismo at home. Cheers!